Hello and welcome back to the Chattercade podcast, where I discuss media in the forms of reviews. I'm your host, Drankin Thomas Hughes, and today we are returning back to the Man-Eater series, which I started about 2 weeks ago. Obviously, I stated when we first started that there'll be like a fortnightly thing, so obviously there'll be something in between or just nothing in general. It'll be a blank episode, but obviously I did something last week, and now we're moving back into the series to cover the second entry in this franchise, which is Grizzly Rage, which was released in 2007. So it's the second entry in the Man-Eater series. If you go off the list I'm going off, I tried to find a exact list of basically where they're released and the order to watch them in, but the only one I could find was obviously on Wikipedia. So, well, we know what Wikipedia is like, but you know, it's the only list I can go off. So that's labeled this as the second movie. So we're just going to just go with the fact that that's telling us it's there. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Fuck it. It's a close enough list. I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, it's a close enough list. I'd be fine to follow. But obviously, yes, Grizzly Rage is today's topic, and the synopsis for this is the film follows 4 teens who go off on a road trip to celebrate graduation. When they travel through an area they aren't supposed to, because they even point that out, obviously, during it, saying we could get arrested. Obviously, they end up running over a bear cub, and obviously, while trying to deal with this bear cub, they encounter a very pissed off Mama Grizzly, forcing them to flee, and eventually get stranded in the middle of basically this forest. And obviously, it's about them trying to survive basically this Mama Grizzly, even though if you read the IMDb trivia, it wasn't even a female bear, it was actually a male bear, because obviously it was obviously a less aggressive option, which I mean makes sense, safety reasons. I mean, even when I was reading on the synopsis, every time the bear's on its hind legs roaring, there's no roar, it's actually smiling the entire time, because they were offering it marshmallows, I think, something like that. It's said on IMDb, which I thought was quite fucking hilarious. But still, but yeah, it's a bunch of teens drive into the forest, get stranded after killing accidentally, I might add, killing a baby bear, and then obviously forced to deal with the mama. So obviously, one thing I did note earlier in my notes here, obviously, unlike a lot of the other entries in this series, especially the early ones, this one doesn't actually contain an established star at the time. Obviously, the first movie, Blood Monkey, contained obviously F. Maria Abraham, established star. The next movie we're covering after this obviously has Lance Henrik, who was obviously in Aliens. So those two have very established stars, and even though some of the ones going forward, there's at least someone recognizable at the time. Obviously, if you watch this back now, then there are 2 stars that you possibly would recognize, especially one. So they weren't established at the time, but they've gone on to be a bit more established. Obviously, the lead actress, who's played by Kate Todd, later went to appear in the obviously TV show and movie, technically, My Babysitter's a Vampire. And she actually also is the voice in Assassin's Creed Unity and Syndicate. She voiced, did I write the name down? No, I didn't. She voiced, obviously, the one who's talking to the initiative, so obviously your character. She's the one obviously trying to guide you through, trying to find this sage. She plays that character. I think her name was Bishop, I think, off the top of my head. But anyway, she played that character, so she's, she became a bit more established. She's not, like, massive compared to this next actor I'm going to point out, but she became a bit more established later on. Obviously, the one who became definitely a more recognisable face in households, obviously, is Tyler Hoechlin, who would later on go on to be in the MTV revival of Teen Wolf, which was an excellent TV show I absolutely loved. But also, the one that everyone would actually remember him for was, of course, playing Clark Kent, aka Superman, in the CW show Superman and Lois, among many other things. But obviously, that's his biggest credit that everyone will remember him for that TV show specifically. So this is one where there's not an established star going into it, but at least 2 of them went off to appear in something well known later on. Obviously, the other 2 are pretty much didn't really do much. So yeah, obviously, got that out of the way. What we've got next? So obviously, I'm going to start off here with the location of the movie, because obviously this movie takes place in obviously a forest, which at times kind of looks like a quarry, especially the one scene when where the one area where they're stranded in Tyler Hoechlin's character goes down into what looks like a quarry just to go to the other side to try and get some signal, but it generally just looks like a quarry in like the middle of this forest. But obviously, I kind of prefer the location in Blood Monkey. This obviously this jungle setting. I think that was a lot cooler, mainly because obviously both have their obviously you're isolated from civilization aspect to it, but this one you literally say, "Oh, we're so many miles away from a road or something like that," and you go, "Okay, so if you just kind of keep on that same track, maybe you just fucking run and hope to not encounter that bear, you'll get to a road, you'll find help, done." Whereas with Blood Monkey, you were kind of fucked because you were kind of in a situation where not only were you in like this jungle, but you had to abseil out of a jungle into this other jungle, which was uncharted. So you've got to get through this first jungle and then make your way to the abseil area to abseil back out of the jungle to this other jungle to then make your way through this to try and get to safety. Yes, though the monkey, obviously the ape threat wasn't in the higher up jungle, obviously you've still got to try and traverse and hope there's nothing else dangerous in this area. So I feel like that felt more tense and more scary. But don't get me wrong, it's an obviously this is a fine enough location because obviously there's a lot of forest where obviously characters can run through, get chased, whatnot. But I just feel like the jungle setting of Blood Monkey stood out a lot more for me than this one. But I will give this movie more credit than Blood Monkey for going the practical route. So Blood Monkey, just a reminder, obviously went the CGI route / distance shots and more just like outlines of the ape. So what I mean by that is obviously those shots where you can see it in the trees, but it's just like clearly like a guy in a suit standing there. And then obviously they went for the CGI shot at the end with the final, when you finally get to see what this fucking monster looks like. Whereas this goes the route of, okay, well, unlike Blood Monkey, which is dealing with a made up species of ape, like this fake monstrous version of one, Grizzly Rage isn't about that. This is about a straight up grizzly bear. This is a real animal that you can find in obviously certain parts of obviously specific countries. So it kind of makes sense. You can find in different countries, or just America. Not sure. But obviously it's something that's real. It's something that you can actually physically work with because there's plenty of films out there that have had real life bears in the movie. So it kind of makes sense that they can go, okay, we don't have to, obviously we could go digital and make it look fucking atrocious because there's a CGI shot in this, which I'll get to in a minute. That was absolutely fucking atrocious. Or we can go the practical route. We can get a real bear and just shoot this movie with a real bear. And I'll give it credit for going that route. Obviously, I know a lot of people complained about the fact that the bear and the actors don't really spend any time in the same shot. Obviously, they're always in separate shots. To be fair, this was from 2007, a very fucking low-budgeted ass movie. So I can understand for safety reasons probably why they'd avoid going this route of having them in the same scene. So I know, for example, like I've seen plenty of films where they've had the bears and the humans actually interact. But obviously, there's a bit more budget in them, more than likely, to allow them to have them actually interact. So I'm not going to badmouth it too much. Though, yes, it would have been cool to see like a face-off between a human and a bear. Obviously, the grizzly bear. I'm not as going to be like annoyed as some reviews were about that. But obviously, it is an interesting way they go around that aspect. Because obviously, there are scenes where, like, for example, you see like a bear swipe at them, or you see a bear attacking the Jeep. Obviously, the way they go for that is obviously just again in the practical route. They obviously just shove some fucking like bear paws on some guy or someone and have him just fucking smash the hell out of obviously the Jeep, or just appear on screen, obviously attacking people. So they want an interesting way around it. Obviously, you can tell if you look close enough and go, okay, that's clearly not a bear. The fur looks completely different to the bear we're seeing. But it is an interesting and funny way of getting around not having the actor and the bear on obviously the same shot. And as I say, the CG, obviously them going around not using CGI is great, because as I said, they do use CGI for 2 shots specifically involving blood, which is the opening kill and the final kill. Obviously they have the bear obviously either swipe or charge at the screen, and you know what's going to happen there. But instead of just having maybe a practical blood splatter or just no blood whatsoever, they decided to have this really abysmal digital CGI blood splatter across the screen. Like, honestly, just as bad, if not worse, than what I did for Making the Martian, when obviously I filmed that back in 2021. When I was like, okay, I need a blood splatter. The practical effect did not work. Let's go digital. And it was just, well, fuck it, that'll do. But bear in mind, I did that on no budget. They had a budget for this. I literally did that by just going, okay, free green screen blood splatter or something like that. There you go. That'll do me. That was me doing it for free. They did it for budgets, and it probably looked just as bad, if not worse, than mine. But at least I have an excuse. But still, I'm happy they went with the practical, because if they went for the digital and that's the digital they had, for an example of how they could go with the digital effects, then no thank you. Because I feel like this has got to be a bit lesser budgeted than Blood Monkey, because of the fact that A, there's less cast, B, there's no established cast. So I feel like there's probably a bit less budget in this than Blood Monkey. So, to be fair, you can kind of get away with this being a very low budgeted one. You don't really need a big budget. But you just need the people, the bear, and a decent story. And this has has an interesting story idea of, oh, we've just killed a baby bear, we're stranded now, the mom was pissed off. Basic story works if you have a good script, have a good cast. But for this, obviously, its script isn't the greatest. It's very meh. Pretty much like Blood Monkey. It's one of those ones where there's some moments where it's good, some moments where it's, and plenty of moments where it's bad, I should say. And then in terms of cast, again, they're very meh, but I will give credit for them obviously being able to see Tyler Hoechlin before he became this big star because of Superman. It's interesting to see him in his early days of acting, and you can kind of see some of his acting talents from obviously when he'd obviously come back later on and be a bit more of a bigger star. So I'd say it's interesting to see him in the early days. That's what I will say. Let me get my mouse a sec so I can move my notes here. Right, so here we go. Okay, so we're going to move into some more negatives here. Obviously, a negative I wrote down here is stupid character decisions, and that goes back to the script. Because there's 2 specific character decisions that I kind of roll my eyes at, especially the second one. The first one, I can let slide a little bit because you're in a pickle, and you're kind of like, okay, we've got no choice here, we have to figure this out, or else we're dead. But the second one, I can't redeem, it just makes no sense. So, the first one is basically when they first get stranded. Obviously, they get the car working after. Obviously, they go, okay, the radiator and the car's fucked. We damaged it from hitting the bear, but we've got no choice. We have to drive, and after a little while, they get it working, drive off away from the bear. But again, they're forced to stop because if they don't, the vehicle will overheat, it will get damaged entirely. So they go, okay, we need water, need a lot of water to try and basically cool this down so we can carry on driving. No water in the back, of course. They've got fucking a cooler full of empty bottles of water, apart from one bottle. And they decide to, 2 of them decide to split up 2 different directions and hope to find a river or a lake or basically anything. And I find that pretty stupid because it's like, okay, you're in the middle of nowhere, you don't know this area whatsoever. What's your guarantee you're going to find a lake or a river? You could be fucking walking for hours before you find it. And bear in mind, there's a killer fucking grizzly around. So I'm just like, not the greatest of ideas. And then on top of that, obviously, they leave 2 behind at the Jeep. I feel like the safest bet, if they're going to do that route, it should have been 2 go that way, 2 go that way. Like, at least then, they've always got someone watching the other one's back. That would have made a bit more sense than just 2 splitting off into an area they've never charted whatsoever. So I kind of kind of found that a bit of a stupid decision. But it's something it's obviously, if you think about it in the heat of the moment, you can kind of understand what they're trying to do. We're stranded. There's a bear. We've got no choice. We need to find water fast if we want to drive out of this place. So I can kind of understand it a little bit, despite the fact I still find it a very dumb character decision. But it's this second decision that really pissed me off, where basically one of the friends is gone, killed by the bear, very bad CGI blood splatter. They hit the gas because they got no choice, driving away. Car, to be fair, doesn't look as fucked now as it did before, even though they've literally put no water in. All they're doing is just floor it. And Tyler Hoechlin's character has this massive panic attack and starts yelling at them to go back to rescue their friend, go back to get him, even though they've clearly seen he's dead, he's gone. And then obviously, they're telling him that he's gone, we need to just carry on here. And then he just grabs the wheel and causes them to crash off this cliffside into basically this quarry-like area. And I'm just like, what the fuck? How? That is such a dumb character decision, a way to get them stranded. Personally, I sat there, obviously when I was talking to Hayden about it, I was like, I already found a way for them to work in this with stranded plotline. Obviously, it goes back to the first character decisions where they go off to find water to fix the radiator. Obviously, the driver's already pointed out that if they do not find water, if they keep driving like they are, it'll break down because the radiator is completely fucked. Well, why not do that? Why not just have them keep flooring it and then have the radiator quickly conk out on them? I don't see the point in them having them cause this crash with a character who, even later on in the movie, proves to be a bit of a smarter character. Like, for example, obviously the scene when he obviously realises, okay, if I get across here, get up there, I might be able to get a signal, and then I'll be straight back. Goes for it. Scene when he's trying to distract the bear, he's like, okay, you need to run, I'll be the distraction. Like, it lights the car on fire to cause the bear to try and burn. He's clearly a smarter character than all these other characters. I just don't understand why they had to have him do this really dumb character decision. It just annoyed me. And you clearly laid out a plan for how the Jeep could break down. So, I don't know, it's just one of those things where I was just like, you've got this fucking plot point you could use, but you completely eradicate it for a dumb character decision, and I'm just like, I get the idea, they're meant to be teens, you could have this dumb moment, but it frustrated me really badly. What have I got here? Oh, the movie intro is like this really like fucking fast-paced rock music playing over the top. Scene where obviously the car's driving and you're showing shots of the car as the other cars driving around them, just scenery shots. I'm just like, yeah, you can tell this is a straight to TV movie. And then it ends with obviously the title card. I'm just like, why couldn't you just do like a basic title card? Why have you got to do this roaring flames and then the title in front of it? Yeah, I get the joke or the reference with the fire. It's a raging fire. Oh, it's the fire that's burning inside this grizzly bear. I'm just like, yeah, no, just no. What am I doing next? Oh, the music throughout the film. Obviously, there's some decent, like, normal, like, tense music playing throughout this movie. But then, obviously, they do add a couple of, like, rock songs just to try and basically point out, oh, this is a bunch of teens. This makes sense to have rock music playing. But there's one particularly, not the opening song, it's later on, when the group's dwindling down. One splits off to go and try and find some help because the others can't go. One's slightly injured, and this guy's like, okay, you stay with her, and I'm going to go find some help. Runs off, got this fucking music playing over the top of it, and then you have this moment where Tyler Hoechlin's character's having, like, again, a complete breakdown of with the whole situation that's going on. And the music's still playing over the top of it, and I'm like, personally, I would have switched to a more cinematic score for that scene. Like, the music really killed the vibe of him having this, like, really, like, sad moment, and I was just like, oh, you could have done that so much better, and just, as I either got rid of the music entirely, had it just silent as he's having this complete breakdown, let the music fade out as he starts his breakdown, or just have some really, like, sad music playing. I don't know why they went for this, obviously the music choice they went for, it just killed the whole scene and the whole vibe for me. what else we got here? Obviously, talking about that character that runs off to find help. Obviously, he runs off quite far, finds this abandoned house in the middle of nowhere, which it's never really explained why it's there. It's clearly meant to be like some sort of hunter type cabin, but they could have done a bit more reasoning with that. Or maybe even add like another character to have them live there, or you see like a dead body or something, like they were clearly like living there, maybe like a hunting cabin. They were planning to hunt this bear, and the bear got the better of them. They could have done something with that, but it's just like this random cabin in the woods. Classic horror movie in the forest, random cabin in the woods. And as he gets in there, does all what he needs to do, sees all the stuff that he can obviously use for points of reference later on. Obviously, then bear turns up, forced to hide from the bear. I do a lot of shots with the bear's eyes, where it's similar to Blood Monkey, where you see it from the bear's perspective, where it's all like sort of reddish vision or orangish vision, showing that, oh, this is how this animal actually sees. And it's like, okay, interesting. And obviously, the gets attacked by the bear, gets pretty badly injured by the bear, and has to go back. But it's just the fact that it cuts back to the others. They're having this conversation. Then he reappears, legs fucked, pretty badly damaged, and somehow he's managed to run all the way back from this area where he was, which is quite a distance away. Bear in mind, he got thrown to like this sort of chainmail fence. He got thrown into there, managed to get himself out of there, get around this grizzly bear, and make it all the way back to his friends without getting killed or just collapsing from the pain. And was like, like, you know, maybe you could have just done it as them going back to him to try, like, going up that direction, going, okay, he hasn't been back for a long time. We're worried now. Let's go find him. I just don't believe that he'd make it all the way back to them without the bear even fucking getting him. Not with the damage you saw to his leg. Like, it was like his last straw, essentially. That's what pretty much knocked him off. And it's just like, I don't believe that he'd make it all the way back to them. So what else we got here? Talking obviously the cast though, I did like the smaller cast, because Blood Monkey has this much more bigger ensemble of characters. Obviously you got the two that were already down in the jungle. Then you got this group of teens, which obviously is 3 females, 3 males. So was it 3 males? Yes, I think it was. So you got a cast of 8, plus the characters you see at the start, which, what, roughly brings you to 10, 11, maybe 12 characters, plus the apes. Whereas this one goes to the route of, okay, 4 characters and the bear, and the dead grizzly cub if you count that. So it condensed it to a much smaller group of characters, and I think that really does work for this type of movie. Yes, you can go bigger and have this much more ensemble cast and have maybe more bodies drop in and whatnot, but after seeing the gore effects this movie used, I'm kind of glad for the smaller cast, because it means that we only get that twice, because the other character death in this movie doesn't have that at all. It just has the practical effect, and so it does work for me, the smaller cast, because it allows you, and I'm going to use this very lightly, it allows you to attempt, air quotations here, to get attached to these characters and try and root for them. Yes, you're never gonna, because as a lot of reviews I've read with saying, you're always going to root for the bear in this situation, because characters are just douchey and just not worth your time. Obviously, at least if they wrote the characters better, you could at least have a better chance to attempt to get to attached to these 4 specific characters. Whereas with Blood Monkey, you got to say these 8 characters. Yes, the 2 of them you kind of don't give a shit about, but the 6 of them, you got 6 characters to try and get attached to as they're slowly getting whittled away. At least with the 4, you can spend more of your time focused on these specific smaller meta characters, and I feel like it works. It's a nicer change of pace, a smaller cast, and as I say, that's probably why it's a much smaller budget. Is because this type of movie doesn't require that bigger budget. It's just, as I say, 4 people, a bear, go, and it works for me, and it's one of the more positives I will give this, along with the practical use of a bear. Rather than, obviously, it's still not the greatest movie, and I'll fucking get into it even more in a minute. there's plenty more negatives for this movie that do drag it down. And I'm going to move my notes down a bit more now. There we go, it's better. Obviously, though I'm giving praise for the use of practical bear, I'm going to point out some negatives with this aspect as well. So, obviously, the Blood Monkey, one of the big negatives in a lot of reviews was lack of the main antagonist, so the lack of the titular monster. And then when they finally do show it, it's this abysmal mess. This one obviously goes for the route of, okay, we can get a bit more of this grizzly bear because we actually have a practical grizzly bear. We can have it walk around, do some shots of it standing on its hind legs, stuff like that. So obviously, though I'll give praise for that, I will say it is annoying that a lot of it is quick cuts. A lot of times there's a lot of really like quick cuts between the people and the bear, and it does kind of throw you around a little bit. And then on top of that, obviously during the final sequence, it is very fucking dark. There's lightning strikes, and I found it very hard to actually see what the hell was going on. Like, you can see just about, thanks to the lightning strikes, but I was watching, I was just like, oh, fuck's sake, like, this is like a pretty cool like action sequence, like, there's fire, there's bear chasing people, and it's just like, you could have lit the scene up a bit better. I mean, the copy I watched it on, it was like an old DVD copy of it, and it wasn't the greatest quality of, obviously for it, because they say it's pretty old, but obviously I watched, I flicked through like a copy of it on YouTube, which is obviously in like 1080p, and obviously the whole film looks a lot better visually than what I was watching, because I say I've got like an old DVD copy of it. This was like a 1080p upscaled version of it. But that final scene, though it did look a little bit more better, it still was quite difficult to see due to the poor lighting. And I don't know, I felt like they could have maybe lit that scene better. I get the idea, maybe it's the case of you're kind of seeing it from how they'd be seeing it, but at the same time it's like, though that's a cool idea on paper, visually it's not cool because you can't fucking see what's going on. But again, it's probably the idea of, since the not having these two actually interact properly, you kind of can't make it as crystal clear as you want. So, but it's still like one of the biggest kills for me. It's just that I can't see what the fuck's going on half the time. What else have we got here? Oh, that's it. Another like a big downer for me really is the ending. So obviously Blood Monkey's ending was this like depressing ending where basically everyone dies, and it's just like, okay, that's fine. I mean, a lot of reviews praise that actually ending. Like, yes, it's an interesting ending. Obviously, it's just layered with really bad CGI for the monkey scene, plus the ape scene and the slow motion. It just like, that's what kills it. But the idea of this depressing ending works, and I don't mind more in this franchise doing that ending where, let's be honest, the animal wins. But I find it pretty dumb that they did it 2 movies in a row. Spoiler alert there, slightly. Slightly, just big spoiler alert. I find it stupid that Grizzly Rage went and copied that ending where the animal wins. Again, to be fair, with these characters, you kind of want the animal to win, but at the same time, it's like, I watched that just in Blood Monkey. I don't want the same ending again. Plus, then you add the really bad CGI blood splatter, and that just completely fucking just alienates this ending of this movie entirely. So, I mean, for starters, think of a better ending, and fix your fucking blood splatter, because that just fucking killed it even more. I mean, I'd say it's fucking worse than the ape scene, and obviously Blood Monkey, mainly because at least with the ape scene, it's meant to be like a full-bodied like animal, whereas this is just like a basic bitch blood splatter, and it just looked even worse than this abysmal CGI monster. But other than obviously all these points I've made, I do think this has a few more pros than Blood Monkey. specifically the practical route they go through, the smaller cast. And I do prefer this a tad bit more, just a tad bit more than Blood Monkey. I wouldn't say it's great, and I wouldn't say it's straight up dog shit. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's another dud in this series. I mean, 2 out of 2 is isn't a great start to this series, and I mean, I remember some of these have been pretty decent, and it has been a while since I watched this. So unlike Blood Monkey, which I had a rating already, I can't remember my original rating for this movie. But as for me, this is just another dud, even if it's just a tad bit more enjoyable because of the practical bear. So I'm just like Blood Monkey. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 10. It's got the groundwork for a good or a mid-card horror movie. It's just there's a stuff they need to improve, and obviously what I've wrote down in my notes here, obviously the lighting in the final act, improve that, and you'll have a good visual to watch. The ending, like, if you're gonna go for the Animal Wins ending, don't have it the same ending where it's just whoever's surviving, like the multiple survivors, just go as it gets them. Go for something different. Have it maybe like go for one of them and then go for the other one, or just have them escape. Just either way, just go for a different ending. Don't copy the previous movie's ending. What else have I got here? Straight up away, obviously goes back to the CGI blood. Maybe not have your opening and final kill be layered with this really bad digital effect. Like, as soon as the first one hits with that, you go, okay, I'm in for... I mean, possibly with the script up to that point, you probably go, okay, I'm in for a fucking shit ride here. But then you have that blood splatter, and you're definitely going to go, okay, I'm definitely in for a shit show right now. I mean, there's even like a scene where like this character goes to find some water, and I swear there's like a toxic waste sort of barrel, and obviously maybe that's hinting at that's where the bear's like it is. It's kind of like ingested this, but it kind of doesn't like delve into that at all. It's just like it's there. Okay, move on. What else? But yeah, so there's little tweaks here and there. As I say, script. I'm okay with the plot. The plot's fine. It's just the script needs to be improved. The way they get stranded, again, just use the fucking first method that you came up with, the broken radiator. Bingo. You don't have to do this crazy-ass car stunt. Yes, though, it's a cool crazy-ass car stunt. The reason why it happens is just dumb as fuck. As I say, maybe... I'm not as pissed with the bear, as I said, not being in the same scene as a person, but, you know, maybe one shot here or there might improve it a little bit. But let's say a few tweaks, a few fixes, especially the ones I've already pointed out, and you're at least going to get like somewhere between a 4 and a 6 in terms of rating. Yeah, it's not going to be a masterpiece because it's very low budgeted, but you can at least get a bit of a better one. I mean, I watched one film not long ago that was pretty low budgeted, another killer animal film, and I fucking enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it to the point of like, I went to like a 7 out of 10 with it. Like, I fucking fully enjoyed it. And that clearly had a small budget, small crew, and a simple premise. And it worked. And as I say, this film has a small crew, simple premise, low budget. It's just, there's a lot of things that needs to tweak. Same with the Blood Monkey, really. There's stuff that needs to tweak. And you could at least get a mid-card movie out of it. But they didn't, and they got a movie out of it. So, obviously, something I didn't mention when I covered Blood Monkey was that I'm going to do, obviously, at the end of each episode, I'm going to be ranking this series, like I did with the Jurassic Park franchise, like I did with the Sony's, obviously, Venom Universe stuff. Obviously, I'm going to be ranking each one as I go along. To be fair, it didn't make sense, didn't it, in Blood Monkey, because I'd only had one movie, so it would have been like, number 1, Blood Monkey. So, you know, it makes sense now that I've got 2 that I can actually put them in some sort of order. So I'm going to be kicking off this ranking by putting Blood Monkey into 2nd place, and then I'm going to be putting Grizzly Rage into 1st for now. Hopefully there's plenty of I've got plenty of movies in this series to go. Hopefully they start improving a little bit. I don't think the next one will, because I was watching the trailer for the next one. I was like, yeah, it's going to be another dud, isn't it? But obviously, I've got a few coming up that I know are decent, that I know at least mid-card movies, and I can have at least a okay enough time with. These ones are more like, I'll probably won't watch it for another fucking couple of years. Maybe not even for a long ass time. So yeah, I say Grizzly Rage first, Blood Monkey second. Obviously you can check out the. Oh, well, first off, obviously if you've seen Grizzly Rage at all, obviously you can put your thoughts in the comments below. Obviously, if you want a better Grizzly Bear movie, I can give 2 recommendations right here. Actually, I think Cocaine Bear is about Grizzly Bear, but bear movies in general. We'll go with bear movies in general. Cocaine Bear, that's fucking hilarious. And one which is one I actually reviewed with Hayden. I'll put that in the comments below, along with the link for Blood Monkey. Obviously, and the other one would be Into the Grizzly Mage, which is one I reviewed with Alex. Those 2 are much more fun movies, much more enjoyable than this. But this does kind of remind me of another Grizzly Bear movie, bear movie in general, which is just called Bear. Don't remember much about it. I just remember it being a bunch of people stuck in a car and a bear attacking them. That's all I remember about that. I've got it on DVD somewhere. Maybe somewhere down the line, if I can ever be asked, I'll maybe discuss that, rewatch and discuss it, because I haven't watched that for fucking years either. But we'll stick to the Mayonnaise series for now, and that is that. So obviously you can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, Amazon Music, etc., etc. You can also check it out on YouTube, where you can check out all my other videos, where you also find the links for my other content. And other than that, next week we'll be covering Assassin's Creed Unity, and the week after we'll be moving on to the 3rd entry, which is Into the Spider's Web. So until then, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
If you like what you've seen, don't be afraid to throw us a little like and subscribe. That's always very appreciated over here. And, well, I'll see you on the next video.